The book of Genesis, chapter 22, verses 9 through 10. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar, on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. This passage introduces us to a moment of profound faith and obedience. Abraham, following God's command, prepares to sacrifice his beloved son Isaac. This act demonstrates Abraham's unwavering trust in God's plan, even when it seems incomprehensible. In our lives, we may face situations that test our faith and obedience. We are called to trust in God's wisdom and timing, even when we do not understand His ways. The book of Genesis, chapter 22, verse 11. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham, here I am," he replied. At this critical moment, God intervenes through His angel, calling out to Abraham. This divine interruption signifies that God is always aware of our struggles and is present in our moments of greatest need. It reminds us that God sees our faith and will provide guidance and support when we need it most. In our daily lives, we should remain attentive to God's voice, trusting that He will guide us through our trials. The book of Genesis, chapter 22, verses 12 through 13. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. God's command to stop the sacrifice and the provision of the ram highlight His mercy and provision. Abraham's faith is rewarded, and Isaac's life is spared. This teaches us that God provides for our needs and rewards our faithfulness. In our lives, we should trust that God will provide for us, even in ways we do not expect. The book of Genesis, chapter 22, verse 14. So Abraham called that place "The Lord will provide." And to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." Abraham names the place to commemorate God's provision. This act of naming serves as a lasting reminder of God's faithfulness and provision. It encourages us to remember and celebrate the times when God has provided for us. In our lives, we should create our own markers of God's faithfulness, whether through journaling, sharing testimonies, or other acts of remembrance. In conclusion, the story of the altar and the ram is a powerful testament to faith, obedience, and God's provision. Abraham's willingness to sacrifice Isaac and God's intervention teach us that true faith involves trusting God completely, even when we do not understand His plans. We are reminded that God sees our faith and will provide for our needs in His perfect timing. Let us hold on to this truth and apply it to our lives, trusting in God's provision and celebrating His faithfulness. Amen.